You have no idea, but there's someone out there who hasn't given up. This person is still waiting for you, even if they never say a word, even if they pretend to have moved on. They haven't erased what you lived through together. They just couldn't. And no matter how much everything suggests otherwise, they have a certainty that's unsettling. A certainty that you two will come back together, not because it's beautiful to believe in that, but because deep down something within them never broke. They feel you still belong to each other, even when you're far apart, even after everything, even with other names around. While you try to forget, they hold on tight to something no one else can see. They believe it was real, that it wasn't just a phase, that it wasn't just confusion, and no matter how much you've moved on, they sense that you still care. They notice the silences. They notice how you avoid certain topics. They notice when you pretend you feel nothing anymore, and that's enough. They don't want to force you into anything, but they know, and they wait. Because deep down they feel it's not over yet. And you feel that too, even if you pretend you don't, even if you don't want to admit it anymore. But when everything calms down, when no one's watching, it's them you think about. If this touched you, comment, "I needed to hear this." You can deny it, you can laugh inside, you can say this is in the past, but it's not. Not yet. Because there's someone who isn't convinced by your absence, and more than that, there's someone who feels you will come back. It's not crazy. It's not stubbornness. It's something else. It's a certainty that can't be explained, but also won't just fade away. While you try to keep busy, distract yourself, hide in your responsibilities, that person, they wait. They're not sitting in a corner staring at the door. It's not about that. They wait in a different way, in the way of someone who hasn't given up inside. They live. They move forward. They've felt pain too, but unlike you, they didn't cut that bond with a dull knife. They didn't try to kill what still breathes. She realized there's something between you that won't break. Even if it has shattered, even if it has hurt, even if it has turned to silence, she hasn't stopped feeling. And you haven't either. No matter how much you say otherwise, no matter how much you swear you've moved on, there are times when the longing comes out of nowhere. But it's not a longing for what has happened. It's a longing for what hasn't happened yet. For what you both haven't experienced together. It visits you when the world slows down, when your phone is on silent mode, when everyone else is asleep. There, in that space where only you remains, that person reappears, as a thought, as a memory, as a desire that never turned into indifference. You feel it. You may not tell anyone. You might not even want to admit it to yourself, but you feel it. You feel it when you hear that song. You feel it when you pass by a place that holds a piece of the history. You feel it when someone says something that resembles what she would say. And that's when something in you stirs, even if you're silent, even if you're hurt, even if you're proud. That person has never stopped noticing you. She still notices when your name pops up for no reason. She pays attention when your heart races without context. She recognizes absence like someone sensing a presence that remains alive. She doesn't demand anything from you. She doesn't pressure you. She just feels and trusts. She trusts that if it's meant to be, you will find each other again. Not by chance, not by distraction, but because it simply has to be. And that's the deepest part. She believes more than you believe in your own escape. You might go out with other people. You might talk about new interests. You might post photos with a forced smile and a rehearsed caption. But you know, it's not the same. It doesn't carry the same weight. It doesn't reach the same part of you, because that person touched something no one else has touched, and continues to do so, even from afar. And that's why she knows, because between you two, she is the one who chose not to give up on the truth, not on the idealization, not on the image, but on the truth. She saw who you are on the inside, and still she wanted to stay. Even after leaving, she still wants to come back, but not alone. She isn't searching for you, not because she doesn't want to, but because she knows that if you feel it too, you'll come. And you do feel it. You feel it in your chest that weighs heavy on random days. You feel it in the urgency you have not to think about her. You feel it in the lack of connection with everything else. This absence isn't ordinary. It's profound. It's noticeable even in your body. It's as if your own system has already understood that no one else is her. And that won't change just because you decided it was enough. The heart doesn't work that way. You might have learned to control the impulse, but you still haven't learned to control the emptiness, because it grows in the places where you haven't been together, in the conversations that were left unfinished, in the kisses that didn't happen, in the days you imagined but never lived. And this person, she still holds on to all of that. Not like someone who clings to the past, but like someone who feels that the future won't happen without this part of you. She keeps going, even without answers, even without clear signs, even when everything seems to be against it. And do you know why? Because some things don't need proof. They just need to be felt. And she feels. Like an instinct that doesn't miss. Like a perception that transcends time, logic, and distance. She feels that time isn't over for you two yet, that there's a return, that there's a chance for you to look at each other differently and still recognize one another. She knows the world changes, but some things only change to grow stronger. You lived a story that perhaps no one else understands. But that's not what matters. What matters is what still lives inside of you both, and you know, even in silence, even while hurt, even full of excuses, you know, this person still misses you with the same intensity as before. And the only difference is that now she feels in silence, but she hasn't given up. She won't give up, because she still perceives. Do you realize you're there, pretending you no longer feel? You notice your attempts to convince yourself that you've moved on. You can see how your silence is still filled with everything you don't know how to express. You can keep avoiding it, but she no longer needs your words because the connection you have goes beyond that. She feels you even from afar. Even without news, even without promises, she knows what you are, and that certainty doesn't fade easily. Have you ever been through this? Tell me in the comments. If this text resonates with you, write, "I needed to hear this." Comment a heart if you're on this journey together. That certainty doesn't fade easily, because it's not made of thoughts. It's made of instinct. And instinct doesn't make mistakes. This person doesn't need to see you. She feels. She feels when your day isn't going well. She feels when you think of her. She feels when you lie to yourself, saying you no longer feel anything. She recognizes you in the vibration, in the changing air, in the wind that whispers without words. And this isn't about mysticism. It's about truth, pure, raw, perceptible truth. Even if you pretend not to see it, you can keep moving forward, create new routines, hide in your habits. But the truth comes back. It always comes back. And when it does, it comes back with force. It invades you silently, in dreams, in random memories, in sense that no one else has, in a phrase that seems to have been written just for you, and then you lose your focus. You lose your way. You lose the certainty that you have moved on, because her absence didn't turn into peace. It turned into lack. It became an echo that responds when no one else does. Some people forget because they want to. Some people forget because they need to. But some people can't forget because what was lived wasn't just a scene, it was a landmark. And for that person, you were that. A landmark. Something that no one has replaced. An energy that no one has imitated. A place within her that only has your name written. And this doesn't change just because time has passed. Time does not erase what is engraved in the soul. He only tests the depth. And in this case, you left deep marks. Marks that don't hurt like they used to, but they also haven't faded away. They've become a part of her, a part of who she is today, because it was with you that she discovered a kind of love that isn't found everywhere. A love that even amidst chaos remained love. She doesn't deny the mistakes. She doesn't deny the hurt. She doesn't romanticize, but she acknowledges, she recognizes that with you something rare existed, something she doesn't want to forget, and that's why, even in silence, she continues to believe, not in going back to the past, but in rediscovering the essence, what you both were before the confusion, before the hurt, before the fear. And maybe you want that too, even without saying it. Maybe that's why you still think of her for no reason. Maybe that's why, on certain days, everything feels too small, too shallow, lifeless, because her presence made everything feel more intense. It was different, you know it was. It wasn't just attraction, it wasn't just routine, it wasn't just companionship, it was presence. It was soul. It was depth. And you miss that, even without admitting it. Because now, no matter how much you try to protect yourself, you realize no one else connects with you like that. No one else sees you the way she did. No one else communicates with your emptiness without needing many words. She read you. She saw you behind the facade, behind the control. She could reach through what you showed and grasp what you were hiding. And that is frightening because it's exactly this kind of connection that you tried to forget because she exposed you. Because with her, you couldn't pretend to be something you weren't. She saw everything, and still she stayed. Now you find yourself asking, what if that doesn't come back? What if I lose the only person who really saw me? That's why this absence is unsettling. It's not missing just anyone. It's missing who you were with her. She made you feel like someone you don't even recognize anymore. And the worst part? She still believes that you can become who you once were. She hasn't forgotten your light even after seeing your shadow. She hasn't undone the image she built. She just understood that you were at war with yourself, and because of that you couldn't stay. But she remained, in spirit, in vibration, in frequency. She stayed where the connection was never broken, in the invisible. And that's why, even as time passes, the feeling hasn't faded, because it wasn't ordinary, it wasn't disposable. It wasn't fleeting, it was real. And everything that is real returns, more mature, more aware, more peaceful, more steadfast. And she waits for you, without urgency, without haste, but with a heart that's ready, because she believes that when the time comes, you will realize. You will wake up one day with this truth clear. You will feel that there's no longer a way to run, and then you will come back, not because she asked, but because you felt it. You felt that this connection is greater than pride, greater than misunderstandings, greater than mistakes. And this is how everything begins anew, with a fresh perspective, with clear eyes, with a conscious choice. You don't need to have all the answers right now. You just need to acknowledge that this still lives within you, that this story, even if dormant, still breathes. And when two souls are still searching for each other, the universe finds a way. It always does. If you still feel this, comment, "I perceive all of this within me." If this touched you, share it with someone who needs to remember that love still exists and does not give up. Have you noticed how life seems to insist on repeating certain names, certain gestures, certain memories? It's not a coincidence. It's as if everything you try to bury reappears, stronger, quieter, more intimate. You say you've turned the page, but if that were true, why does it still hurt to hear her voice within you when no one else is around? Why, even amidst so many people, is it her name that crosses your mind, without anyone calling it? You think it's just nostalgia, but nostalgia doesn't build bridges. It doesn't ignite the heart. It doesn't whisper in the dark with such clarity. What you feel is still love, even if you don't like that name right now, even if you try to replace it with pride, with exhaustion, with life goes on. It doesn't go on, not the way you'd like it to, not with the lightness you try to show. It's still there, inside you all the time. And do you know what it does with all of this? It holds on. It holds on to the space where you used to live. It keeps the details that no one saw. It cherishes the silent promises you made without realizing. It still hears your voice, not in the old recordings, but in the new thoughts that pop up out of nowhere. It feels you in the early mornings when you lose sleep and pretend it's just insomnia. It notices what you don't say, just as it always did. And no matter how much there's no us now, it knows. You didn't finish your story. You were interrupted, and that's why it waits. Not like someone who's stuck in time, but like someone who believes that time also heals. It moves on. It evolves. It grows. But with an open heart. Because it knows that when two hearts don't close off to each other, life finds a way. And if it still thinks of you, it's because it still feels. And if it still feels, it's because it still exists. There's something between you that no one can touch, no one can imitate, no one can replace. This kind of connection can't be bought, can't be forced, can't be erased, and you know it. Because no matter how much you've tried to move on, you haven't managed to give yourself completely to anyone else. There's always something missing. There's always her missing. And you don't tell this to anyone. You swallow it down. You pretend you've moved on. You distract yourself with the noise of life. But deep down, you miss the peace that was being with her. And it wasn't always peaceful, I know. There were fights. There was discord. There was pain. But there was also love. There was surrender. There was truth. With her, you were more yourself, more vulnerable, more human, more whole. And this is not forgotten. No matter how much time passes, there are people who leave a mark, but there are others who stay, and she still resides in you, not because of a lack of self-love, but because when a bond is soul to soul, it doesn't adhere to a calendar. It doesn't matter if it's been months, years, or if you both tried other stories. If the connection still resonates, the story isn't over, and you feel it. Deep down, you feel it. No matter how much the world says otherwise, no matter how many friends repeat, move on, forget, it's over. None of that silences what still speaks inside you. You can distance yourself from everyone. You can disappear from social media. You can pretend you don't read messages like this, but she's still there, alive, present, perceptible. And what scares you isn't the memory. It's the possibility of still wanting to come back, because part of you doesn't want to spend life finding halves when you already knew the whole. And she was that, the whole, even on the bad days. Even in the misunderstandings, she was home. And you miss that. The scent, the touch, the gaze that pierced through you and broke you down effortlessly. And to be honest, you still love her. With anger, with longing, with fear, but you love her. And her, she loves you too, even without words, even without gestures, even from afar. She hasn't stopped carrying you in her heart. She just learned to wait without expecting, to trust in something greater than both of you, in life, in time, in the invisible. But if you were to come back today, she would still open the door. She would still look into your eyes as if seeing you for the first time, even though she's seen you inside so many times. Because it doesn't matter what happened, she still believes in you. She feels there's more to come, more story, more encounters, new versions of you both, now more mature, more aware, more present. And maybe all of this happened just so you could grow. And finally, let's find each other again, not out of impulse, but by choice, by truth, by decision. For a love that endured everything, do you feel it? Do you notice how life always brings you back to this point? So listen, not to the world, not to the mind. Listen to your heart. It knows the way, and it still points to her. If this message has stirred something within you, comment. I still feel it, even if in silence. Finish this sentence. Being touched by someone truly is. If this made you think of her, comment with a heart. Share it with anyone who also misses a love that can't be explained. If this resonated with you, share, comment on the topic, leave a like, and subscribe to the channel.